Good evening. How everyone doing tonight? God is good and God is good all the time. My name is Michelle Spirit Divine. I'm here to give you a word on tonight. And we're going to talk about Athaliah. She's a grandma. And she wanted a throne so bad. So this lady in the killed all her family, her grandkids, you know. And she wanted the throne so bad. Now, who gonna kill? She had so many grandkids, so she couldn't even keep account of them. You know, 2 Kings 11, 1 through 21. Now, this mother who saw her son got killed, still, still her mourning for her son. She thinking of evil stuff of how she can get the throne. Because that's her grandkids, you know, the son that she saw die is his children. And they're all in David bloodline. Now one of the child is supposed to sit on the throne. She don't know who, so she killed all of them. So God had promised that the Messiah would be born through David, deceitful and God's purpose for the fulfill through Josh's survival. Athaliah will do she gonna do the unbelievable thing to sit on this throne. It's a horrible thing what she gonna do to sit on this throne. And when now she is the mother. She is the mother of the she the mother of Isaiah. Now saw her son was dead. Now she saw her son was dead. Now instead of her mourning for her son, you know, she just thinking evil stuff. You know, she proceed to destroy the whole royal family, the royalty family. You know, because she know one of them supposed to get the throne, supposed to sit on the throne. She don't know who, so she gonna kill all of them. Now she not mourning for her son. You know, she thinking evil to kill her whole family. Now she did not, you know, she did not have anything. You know, she was a grandmother of these children. You know, no one of the children will receive the throne. She don't know which one. You know, one of the children. And you know, God gonna pick like David had a whole bunch of siblings. You know, and then the David was the last one in their mind ever thought that God was gonna pick him. You know, so now the daughter of Joash, you know, and her sister, you know, they took Josh, you know, son. They took Josh and they stole him away. And what about to murder? Now, they heard that she was murdering the rest of the kids. So they hurry up and grab Josh, you know, so she won't kill him. You know, so she put him with the nurse in the nurse bedroom. She hid him, you know, from her, and he was not killed. You know, so the one grabbed the boy, you know, it's the half sister of Joshua. You know, Leah took the boy because she the own grandmother was trying to kill him. Now she was murder. She would murder all her grandkids, you know, and she will not know that one is missing. Now she got so many grandkids. I think she had about 10 grandkids. She couldn't keep a count of them. So she probably wasn't even around the grandkids that much. You know, she didn't keep a count of the grandkids. So she killed all of them. Then she started living her life on that land. You know, not knowing she had one left. So the boy in the temple was practically a natural place to hide a baby Josh. Now his grandmother does wicked and have no interest in this temple. She do wicked. So she don't have no interest going into the temple. You know, and now 7 years have passed. 7 years have passed. She still don't know one of her grandkids is alive. You know, so one of them had sent for the commander of the unit of the 100 callers, you know, in the guard. You know, and they brought him to the temple, of the law. Now so they took him out the temple to put a covenant with him, and put them under the oath at the temple of the Lord. Then he showed them the king. Now see, he had them to set up everything, you know, set up everything, a covenant, said, how you set up a king, but they didn't know who they were setting it up for. Because nobody sent this boy but the nurse. So now 7 years in the past, and so they set everything up. So now God's showing them who is the king. And this little boy is 7 years old, and so there was truth. They had truth, and they had put guards and troops at the gate, protection for this son. Now God had them to set up a covenant, and then he showed them the king. Now they have to have all this protection around this little boy, because their grandmother, she just killed all the rest of the grandkids. So so what she gonna do with this little boy here? She might go and raid him. She realized they still got one little boy left. So all the guards of the temple for the king station yourself around the king. Now each of you with the weapon in hand. Now anyone who opposes, the rank is to be put to death. Stay close to the king wherever he goes. Now they're treating this little boy like a real prince. Like he a man king, and he just 7 years old. But they know how dangerous his grandmother is. So they got to put all this protection around this little boy. So the grandmother killed all the grandkids. Which she thought, she didn't find out. When she found out that she didn't have one grandson alive. So protect the young king from being assaulted. They must keep watch of the king's house. And he was with them. So he is David bloodline. And this little boy gonna be a king over Israel, over Judah. And he's 7 years old. So God each of the weapon that had stationary themselves around the king near the altar in the temple, from the south to the north, side by side of the temple. They're doing all this protection because they know how enraged, his grandmother is. So they're protecting this little boy all right. Because they saved this little boy for 7 years. And they don't want the grandmother to do something after being to save him for this time. So 7 years had passed, and she don't know that one of her grandchild is living. Now she thought she killed all of them. That's why they're stationary with guards, with weapons. That she perceived dangerous. Now she threw all the killing of her own grandkids for the throne and would not get it, but Josh would be the king. Now she did all that for nothing. She did all that for nothing. Because she's not going to be the one to sit on the throne. This little boy going to be the one to sit on the throne. Now don't be like this grandmother. Now she didn't, care about her grandkids. She loved the throne more than her kids, her grandkids. Anytime somebody desperate for get the throne, and just do away the grandkids for the throne, and you went through all that trouble, and now you're not getting the throne, this little boy is getting the throne. God heard him for a reason, because that's the one God picked to be on that throne through David bloodline. And she didn't, she didn't know for her grandkids. Now she didn't know how many she had. She didn't know how many she had. God hid him until he was 7 years old. Now he gonna be the king sitting on the throne. What she had wanted. So they brought out the king's son and put the crown on his head, represent him with a copy of the covenant, and proclaiming him king. Now they anoint him, and the people clap. Now see the people they was surprised too because they thought he was dead because they didn't have him outside or nothing. They had him hidden. They had lived him. He was living, in the temple for 7 years without anybody seeing him but the nurse. And so the people didn't know he was still alive. So when they saw him, when he came out, they was clapping, shouting and jumping up and down. And so the young Josh had a copy of the law. He had a copy of the law. Putting a crown on Josh's head. He getting a crown, he getting a throne. In a testimony in his hand, proclaiming that he the young, boy that was David. This little boy and David rightful heir. Because remember God had told David, nobody, only people on your bloodline is sitting on this throne. So we see that Josh, the bloodline of David, that God had promised anyone in his bloodline will be sitting on this throne. So when they brought him out, they were surprised because they thought he was dead. So they just started shouting. So when the grandmother she heard all the noise. She heard all the shouting and clapping. So she went out to see what is all this noise going. Why is y'all happy? Why is y'all shouting and making all that noise, clapping your hand and stuff? So she didn't know what that was happening for. Then she went to the people at the temple of the Lord, unexpected. She was unexpected, the grandmother, that she was greatly troubled. She was like, she could have just caught a seizure or something. She was very troubled. And she was hesitant, with her private troop, from the temple area. She hearing troops coming, You know what they say, anybody that come in and come near, and, we got to put her to the sword. She gonna be dead, But she looked. She had looked. And there was the king. Now, while she was standing at the guard, getting in position, Elisa tore her clothes. She tore her robe and called out. She shouted loud from the top of her lungs, Trenton, Trenton. She shouted from the top of her lungs. She was so proud, surprised, unexpected, to see her grandbaby when she thought she got them all, but she didn't get them all. God hid him for 7 years. For 7 years. So the priest had all the charge of the truth. And remember they said, they'll put her to sword. Anyone who follow her. Now they're going to put her to the sword. And anybody that's follow her, trying to comfort her, anything, they're getting into it. Because this lady had to kill all her grandkids. So anybody try to help her, that's just like karma. You can't get in karma way, And so the priest ordered charge of the truth. Remember, they already said that she come near. They were gonna do her in. Now she must not be put to death in the temple of the Lord. They didn't want to put her to death in the temple. So she was put to death outside. They had to place her outside. So they placed her outside and put her to death. Because they didn't want to do that in the Lord's temple. So the king then took his place on the royalty throne. Now he on the throne. Now she did all of that because she wanted to get on the throne. Josh become king over Judah. Now who bring a lot of reform, to the nation. Now everyone who was called, see when she was gone, because she did an unbelievable thing. They killed the children. That wasn't nobody else. That was her own grandkids. So they had put her, so everybody else was calm because, they feel like she was a danger to the nation. So Josh was 7 years old. 7 years old when he become king. Josh is only 7 years old running the land. You know, the grandmother. And they don't realize you can't just put yourself on the throne. God does that. God picked a king. Just like God picked Saul. God picked David. You can't just put yourself on the throne. It comes from God. So he the bloodline of David. He's sitting on the throne. You know, um, and what the grandmother killed to be on. She killed to be on that throne. So it don't pay us, to be that desperate for the throne because God picked who he want on the throne. And she went through all that trouble and she not even on the throne. Her life was taken because she wanted to be deceitful, to do all that for the throne. God picked, sometimes before they even born, there was a little boy. God had the nurse to hid him, hid him for 7 years. Then we put him out. That just like with the janitor's son. God hid him, you know, for like 7 years. I think it was 7 years too when he came back. When he came out. So the throne, God picked the person that's gonna be on the throne. So it didn't make sense for that lady to kill all her grandkids and then she wasn't keeping account of them that she didn't even know that she had one left. And so she had saw her son, got killed. She saw the person who did it. That's why the place that her grandkids was in, she wanted to destroy. But she didn't destroy the person that killed her son. She killed the son kids. So she did that backwards. So that's all I have for you tonight. We just got to be careful because jealousy kicked in. People want the crown. People want the throne. Because God picked who's going to be on the throne, who's going to have the crown. God picked this little boy. And God saved him until he was 7 years old. Then he walked out there with the crown on his head. And with the coveting and of the law, everything he needed, he walked out there as the king, as the prince. And so the grandmother, she lost everything. She lost the throne in her life from being deceitful by killing all her grandkids. And it was a waste of time because she didn't even get to sit on the throne. So that's all I have for you tonight. Have a nice night.